You guys voted on me to play the first Alan Wake just in time for the sequel coming out, so that's exactly what we're doing, and if all goes to plan, I'll be making a video on Alan Wake 2 very soon. Just so you know, this game usually takes 2 playthroughs to platinum, because you need to beat the game on normal first to unlock Nightmare difficulty, but I played it in 2021, so we're starting on Nightmare, with only 17 trophies left to get the platinum, and a bunch of collectibles already knocked out, and we'll hopefully get the platinum in just one playthrough. Without further ado, let's start our playthrough of Alan Wake on Nightmare difficulty. If you haven't seen the game before, the combat is quite simple. Each enemy essentially has dark armour, which you need to get rid of by shining light at them. And once they've got no armour, you can shoot to kill. Now, there's a bunch of collectible types in this game, and I'll explain them as we go. There's 12 can pyramids in the game, but thankfully you only need to shoot 5. In terms of difficulty, it's honestly not that bad if you play properly, but enemies do a ton of damage, so you can die super quick. But thankfully, if you make it into the light, enemies will despawn and you'll get full health. The next collectible we find are coffee thermoses. There's 100 of these in the game and we need all of them. Something unique about these ones is if you have them, they actually won't come back. Every other collectible in the game can be picked up multiple times on different playthroughs, but if you've already got one of these, there'll just be a blank space. Now, for the story, I'm not going to lie, it's super confusing to me, but I'm going to do my best to keep you guys following along. I had actually fully edited this video with me explaining every story beat, but it just got so rambly and the video was so long, and honestly, I don't even know what I'm talking about. So in the video, I'm going to go over a surface level version of it, and then at the end, I'll talk more about the story as a whole, and how I managed to make sense of it going into Alan Wake 2. Our story starts with the author Alan Wake, who's currently 2 years into a bout of writer's block. He's going on holiday with his wife Alice to a small town called Bright Falls. We head to the diner to pick up the keys to the place we'll be staying at, but the man we're meant to meet, Carl Stuckey, is nowhere to be found.
Don't go in there, young man. You can hurt yourself in the dark.
Hello? Mr. Stuckey?
Carl couldn't make it. Unfortunately, he was taken ill. But I have the key for you and instructions on how to get to the lake.
Okay.
I wish you a good stay in my cabin. I'll come by later to check how you've settled in. And to meet your wife. I insist.
Thanks.
Hey, wait! Mrs. Wake! Your keys!
That diner was a real nut house.
When we get to the lodge, we find out this isn't actually a holiday at all. Alice is trying to get Alan to go to Dr. Hartman's facility, who's a therapist who works with creatives.
Hey, just hear me out. There's a local doctor, Dr. Hartman. I read a book of his. He has a private clinic here. He specializes in helping artists.
So now you want to get me committed?
No, it's not like that. That's not...
Then the lights go out and both Alan and Alice find themselves in the lake.
Alice? Alice? Oh no!
Before Alan wakes up in a car crash a week later.
Waking up in the crashed car felt like I had woken from one nightmare and entered another. I couldn't remember how I got there. All I knew was that something terrible had happened to Alice. The gas station was my best bet. They'd have a phone I could use. It looked like a long hike through the forest to get there.
Now, there's 106 of these manuscript pages, and 15 of them can only be found on Nightmare difficulty. These are quite cool because they sometimes foreshadow the game, and they give additional context to what's been happening. In the context of the story, these are pages from a book that Alan hasn't actually wrote yet, but he was planning on using the same title, and he has no clue how these pages exist. The combat, especially on Nightmare, is all about surviving and kiting enemies around until you can get the armour off them. There are 30 chests hidden throughout the game. These were super useful in Nightmare because you get a lot of ammo and resources, and we also have to listen to 14 radio stations.
Well, I was just outside for a breath of fresh air, and what a night.
Just like in Resident Evil 4, you don't need to fight every enemy. As long as you get to the light, you'll be okay. In this cabin we found a TV, which is another collectible. There's 12 of these we need to find, but a lot of them are actually unmissable, so there's only about 7. And again, these just build out the world so well. For example, Alan Wake actually wrote some of the episodes of the show that keeps coming on, Night Things. We got to our first mini-boss here, and this is when flare guns come in handy. They're basically just huge sources of light, so they do damage to lots of enemies, and we took out the mini-boss in one hit. And the last collectible type are these signs. There's 15 of them. We had now got somewhere safe and phoned the police to come help us, but because of all the supernatural stuff going on, they thought we were crazy.
Calm down, Mr. Wake.
We were staying in a cabin on the island, on Cauldron Lake.
There's no island on Cauldron Lake, not since the big eruption in the 70s.
Please, I can take you there, okay?
You look like you've taken a pretty bad knock to the head.
Now, I can't play these on YouTube, but the game is split into 6 episodes, and each one ends with a licensed song in the credits. I don't know why, but I just found this so cool and unique, and I found myself sitting through them, even though there's basically nothing going on. And each episode also starts with a TV-style recap.
Previously on Alan Wake. I came to Bright Falls with my wife, Alice.
Thank you for coming here with me. Tell me a story, writer.
Okay. I used to have these nightmares when I was a kid. The dark really spooked me, too. When it got really bad, my mom gave me this old light switch. She called it the clicker.
The clicker, huh?
Yeah. If I ever got scared of the dark, I could just flip the switch and a magic light would scare the monsters away.
Oh, sure.
Here it is.
Alan.
Maybe it'll help you, too.
Yeah, nice story, writer boy. You made that up right now, didn't you?
No. Seriously.
I love you, even if you are a liar. Thanks for this.
Mr. Wake, the sheriff is waiting for you in her office down the corridor.
In the police station, we got a call from someone who says he has Alice.
Stop talking to the law. You'll do exactly what I say if you ever want to see your wife.
Who is this?
But before we can meet him, we meet Dr. Hartman, who Alan instantly is suspicious of.
I'd like to invite you to stay at Cauldron Lake Lodge.
Did you talk to my wife?
I had the pleasure of discussing your situation with her on several occasions.
Did you set something up with her?
I invited her here. My clinic is a place where...
Oh, hey, come on, take it easy.
And then we meet the best character in the game.
Hey, nobody move. Get your hands off of my client.
Who are you?
I'm Barry Wheeler, his agent. If you have business with Mr. Wake, you talk to me. You yokels won't know what hit you once I sick my lawyers on your asses.
With the natives, Al. These yokels are dangerous.
We told Barry the plan, and the next section of the game is all about getting to the kidnapper and finding Alice. Now usually, playing on the hardest difficulty and going for collectibles don't go hand in hand, but something cool about this game is the collectibles stay with you, even if you die or restart the checkpoint. For example, to get this thermos and sign, you need to take a detour, and then on your way back you get ambushed by a bunch of enemies. So obviously I died here, but it was all good, I could just move on. Soon we met the kidnapper, but had to work together because we got attacked.
Come on, we gotta get moving. More of them coming.
I actually love this section because you have the torch and he has the gun, so you actually need to work together to survive.
I want the entire manuscript, or she's gonna suffer bad.
You touch her though.
He told us if we finished the book, he would give us Alice, but then we got separated again. And I'd actually completely forgot about this from when I first played the game, but it actually has vehicle sections, and it was quite interesting reading on the Wikipedia that this game was actually meant to be open world, and they just couldn't do it. This would have been about 2005, so they were way ahead of the curve, but seeing that they had like huge ideas for the game got me so excited to see what they're actually going to be able to do in the sequel.
Time to finish it. I still need to write the ending. I need a week.
It's not done?
I need a week.
2 days!
We made a deal with the kidnapper. If he gave us time, we would finish the book and give it to him. We asked for a week, and he gave us a deadline of 2 days. So we got back to Barry and got to work, killing a total of 1,000 birds along the way. but Alan still had the writer's block for some reason.
Wheeler speaking.
Thankfully, Barry got a phone call with someone saying that they found the rest of the pages.
We'll be there in less than an hour. See you soon.
Have a great day. Hope you come back soon. Welcome to the old dear diner.
Good girl.
But something is clearly up.
Oh, for Barry. She doesn't have anything.
And you guessed it, it's all fake.
Hey, Al. Al, what's... Oh.
Alan and Barry get drugged, and now Alan only has 12 hours to finish the book and get it to the kidnapper. But before we can do anything, the most over-the-top FBI agent ever shows up and wants to arrest us.
This is Agent Nightingale, FBI! Get him up, Hemingway! You're under arrest!
We run away, and 10 minutes later we make it to the radio station, and they show up again. So we just need to keep going. If you're having an issue following the actual story, I don't blame you, it just feels like so much has happened. But anyway, we shot our 5th can pyramid and started a chapter specific to Delphi. At the start of episode 3, we need to meet the kidnapper, and to get to Delphi we need to get there in half an hour. Obviously, doing this on Nightmare while taking detours for collectibles is a bad idea, but I did my best. I'm going to spoil it, I did get it, and you can see how many detours I take here. So if you're going to play the game yourself, you shouldn't have an issue with this.
I was running on blind hope.
We got to the meeting point, but the kidnapper wasn't here, and he told us to meet him somewhere else.
From the mine, you can't miss it. There's a lookout point there. I'll be waiting.
Now at this point in the game, I was enjoying it, but the story is essentially just a wild goose chase. You go somewhere else, you go somewhere, but nothing actually is like happening. And then basically everything went crazy, but we used our flare gun to get through this door and get to Delphi. And abused checkpoints to make the collectible hunt easier. Before we finally made it into this cave, messed up this platforming section which slowed us down, and got back out the cave. At this point I knew I was close to the end of this section, so I just started skipping enemies and went as fast as I could.
I could see Cauldron Lake.
We met the kidnapper who revealed he never even had Alice in the first place, before the darkness killed him and swept us away. And we woke up in Hartman's office. Now, I'm not entirely sure here, but I think the game's implying you've been here the whole time, and the previous 4 hours of gameplay were all in his mind, and Alice died before the events of the game. We got to listen to some of the recordings of Alice and Hartman for Delphi. Before, in classic Alan Wake fashion, everything starts going crazy again. During our escape, we made sure to watch some TV, and then made our way through a maze. Now, obviously the whole game reminds me of Resident Evil 4, but this part brought it to mind in particular. Isn't it so wild that graphics progress so much during the jump from PS2 to PS3 that these games are only 5 years apart? Obviously the newer games do look better, but think about how small the jump is between the new Spider-Man games, which are also 5 years apart, and both God of War games, which are 4 years apart. Anyway, our heroes got separated again, and our collectible trophies started popping. We had been told to fix everything that was going on, we had to go to the Anderson farm, so we met Barry there. And had to finish this survive section without going under 25% health. Again, not a good idea to do this on Nightmare, but let's do it anyway. You get a bunch of resources here like flares and flashbangs, so it's easy to take out a lot of enemies at once, but they come at you from all sides, so it is quite easy to get hit twice and need to start again. But by taking it slow and checking our back, it was actually quite easy. And right after that, during the Combine Harvester boss fight, we had got our final combat trophy by using the hunting rifle. The story does have some cool moments, like here a local band without a song which basically tells Alan what he needs to do to finish the game and stop the darkness. And just after that there's a bit of a plot twist moment, where it's revealed that when we thought Alan jumped in the water and woke up in the car, when he jumped in the water he actually went into another dimension called the Dark Place, and he'd been locked in there for a week while he wrote this book and all the pages. So Alan essentially has the power to make things come to life, so he was forced to write all this evil into the world. But this guy in a diver suit, Thomas Zane, went through something similar years ago, and he can help us out of it.
I wrote it. It's my fault.
That's right, James Joyce. It's your fault, and you're gonna pay for it.
There's an altar wrought with mystery.
Get back in the cell, Stephen King. The only way you're leaving this place is over my dead...
Wait a minute. I know
In episode 5, we need to do this whole first section without dying, and you can't restart checkpoints either. It was going well, with Sarah here we can do a lot of damage, but while going for a collectible I got jump scare ambushed and died. Now, I was going to do this on Nightmare, but the episode starts with this long, unskippable cutscene, and it's just not worth sitting through it every time I die.
I'm just gonna take a quick look.
And during this section we found our final TV. This section is also quite tough on Nightmare anyway, and we almost died a few times. But we did have a lot of resources, so it wasn't too bad. This section ends with us getting on a helicopter. Just for continuity's sake, when I finished this episode, I loaded it up using chapter select and did it without dying on easy. There's not much to show here, I'm playing on easy. Eventually we met Cynthia Weaver, who's basically an expert on all this darkness stuff that's been going on, and she told us to go to the well-lit room, but along the way, Barry and Sarah needed help.
They're probably dead. You must reach the well-lit room. This is no time to be a selfish idiot.
That's my best friend.
So we took a detour to save them. Before ultimately getting separated again, and meeting up with everyone in the well-lit room. In it, we found a manuscript about Alan's childhood, and I have no clue if this is how you're meant to take it, but I thought this implied that Alan is essentially a fictional character that Thomas Zane had came up with, and his life is completely fiction, devised to get him to Bright Falls to defeat the darkness.
My mind swirled. I'd given the clicker to Alice, yet it was here. Zane had written it into existence, in a story I had written. I can get to her now. I can finish this.
I just want to give a quick shout out to the way Remedy uses live action footage in their games. It's so unique and so cool, and again, I'm very, very excited for Alan Wake 2.
On Zane's page, I'd stood on the rim of Cauldron Lake, about to use the clicker. That's where I was headed.
Now, we have the clicker, and episode 6 is basically just a long fight to get to the lake and use it. This is the final episode in the game, so here's a quick collectible update, and the trophies just started popping. After defeating a boat, we made it to the lake and took out the Darkness Tornado, which is basically the final boss. Alan jumps into the lake to get to the dark place.
Don't mind him, he's Mr. Scott. Your friends will meet him when you're gone. Use the clicker.
And in this final sequence we had 99 out of 100 thermoses, and the last one is here. Except, it's not. I had followed a guide the whole game and I thought maybe it had glitched, but keep watching to see how I wasted 2.5 hours of my life because of a stupid mistake. At the end, Alan uses the clicker to defeat Barbara, who's a personification of the darkness. By doing this, he defeats the darkness, but gets stuck in the dark place himself. So the game is very ambiguous, and I found it hard to follow exactly what was happening as I was playing. And I was watching lore videos and still they weren't clicking, but eventually I found this video from IGN where they ask Sam Lake to explain what happened. There's no one that knows this story better than him. So if you're wanting to know more about the story before Alan Wake 2, then definitely go watch that video. One thing that did help me in that video is that there are a lot of things that I just didn't understand and didn't feel like had been explained properly, and that's like the point, you know? There's so much more Alan Wake. There's the DLCs, there's American Nightmare, there's references in Control, there's a whole DLC as well, and they left a lot of it open for Alan Wake 2. So if you're confused, I would just say, like, it doesn't matter, because we're going to get answers in Alan Wake 2, and I mean, we're probably going to get even more questions in Alan Wake 2 as well. Now, back to the game. There's no way to check which thermos I was missing, so the only option was to play through the entire game again on easy, until I got it. So we played the game, made it quite far. By the way, I messed up this platforming section again. And after following a guide up to the 55th thermos, we finally found the missing one. But wait, I just realised I've got footage of the whole game, so let's go back and see how I missed it. Okay, I genuinely have no explanation for what happened here. I'm guessing I was just looking away and I thought I'd hit circle and I walked away. So after what could have been 9, after 11.5 hours, we had the Platinum in Alan Wake Remastered. If you're wanting to see me play Alan Wake 2, make sure to subscribe because it's coming very, very soon. And thanks for watching the whole video.